Hello, everybody. I'm Felicia Day, and I'm coming to you live from San Diego Comic-Con. It's been 1,000 days since we had Comic-Con, and I've really missed it. I am even more excited to be here with Prime Video, talking with some of the cast of The Lord of the Rings of Power. This incredible cast I get to speak with, and I'm going to introduce them one by one. First, we have Robert Aramayo playing Elrond, who's an elf. Hi.
He's an elf.
We have Benjamin Walker playing High King Gil-galad.
The same.
Again, elf. We have Charles Edwards playing Lord Celebrimbor.
He's an elf.
Also elf. Okay, so we have elf. Guess what? We're going to change it up because we have Owain Arthur playing Prince Durin the Fourth.
Correct. Hello.
Dwarf.
Dwarf.
All right, and then last but not least, we have Sophia Nomvete playing Princess Disa.
Princess Disa, a dwarf. Hello.
A dwarf, yeah. So elf, dwarf. I get the best room, you guys. We all were just in Hall H, which I think holds about 6,000, 7,000 people. That was kind of a big deal, guys. Is this your first Hall H? Is it your first Comic-Con?
It's my first time to America.
No.
Is it? Yeah.
What?
How's it going so far?
It's all right.
It's not always like
It's incredible. So what a way to start a journey and start an introduction to this wonderful country.
I think that panel was probably the most epic and this is my 12th Comic-Con, you guys. Don't look like I'm old or something, Ben.
And
No,
I'm impressed by your longevity.
oh boy, that's a terrible thing to
I'm not
say to a
helping at
lady.
all.
Keep digging, keep digging.
So sorry.
No, but it was.
We've only just started. This has gone very wrong.
Want to get out of the hole? Put down the shovel.
It was one of the best panels I've ever seen. It was stunning. What was your reaction to the wraparound video? I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it was intense, but amazing. It was only right at the end when they put the lights on, and then I realized how many people were actually there.
But I was the same. I thought it only went up to a quarter of the hall.
Yeah.
And then the lights came on, and then it came on. And then, I mean, people were this big at the back.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes on and on. It's a vast
Not
sea.
and I don't think they were dwarfs either.
No, they didn't have to do the scaling thing, which I'm sure you
Yeah,
do a lot.
exactly. We might use that.
Yeah. Charles, have you ever been to a Comic-Con?
No, it's my first time. And that was a hell of a way to start. I mean, it was extraordinary. The energy in there is really quite something.
Yeah, the fans absolutely adored it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all the footage. Was that the first time you'd seen some of the footage?
Some of it, yeah.
Yeah.
First time I have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
Well, it was pretty phenomenal. In fact, we had an exclusive trailer for San Diego Comic-Con that was premiered, and people at home didn't see it. I'm just kidding. I'm going to show it to you, okay? So, you're well. Did you see that? I tease people.
Good.
Yeah, I'm a meanie. All right, you guys watch it and be dazzled.
Nous pensions que la bataille était désormais derrière nous.
Aujourd'hui, la paix se profile.
Nous pensions que nos joies jamais ne finiraient. Nous pensions que notre lumière jamais ne s'éteindrait.
Le ciel est étrange.
Galadriel, fille de Finarfin. Le moment tant redouté.
Le mal ne dort jamais. Il patiente.
Dans les profondeurs, la pénombre peut tous nous engloutir sous la montagne.
Notre ennemi a bien des noms.
Tu as entendu parler de lui? Tu connais le nom de Sauron?
Si le mal qui s'élève en terre du milieu n'est pas maîtrisé, il va se répandre et tous nous anéantir.
Trouve la lumière, et jamais l'ombre ne te trouvera. Ensemble, nous pouvons gagner!
Combattez avec moi.
Chacun d'entre nous se doit de décider quel chemin il devra emprunter.
Il ne peut y avoir de confiance entre un marteau et une pierre. Un beau jour, l'un ou l'autre en viendra à se briser.
On vous a conté tant de mensonges sur la terre du milieu.
Was that a Balrog? Yeah. Wow. I don't know how televisions are going to contain this show. What were your impressions when you saw this trailer, y'all?
Exactly that. I thought we got to get a bigger television.
Yeah.
Sophia, had you seen any of that before?
I had a glimpse of it, and I cried a lot.
Oh.
I'm a crier.
Really?
Yeah. We all know how much this took. We know the length of time that we spent together. These are our friends. These are the people who held my baby and were friends to my family. And suddenly seeing all of our hard work of course, the creatives, the design team, the producers, everybody, so many cogs in the wheel. So it was a real emotional moment. And we're so excited to be able to share it and invite the entire world, fans of old and fans new, to come and embark on this journey that's been with us for so long.
Now, there's a beautiful camaraderie between you guys. Is it because you've been shooting for how long? For years almost, right?
Well, in the nature of being in New Zealand, we were kind of sequestered together, and our shepherds, JD and Patrick, had kind of built this familial attitude about it. We had the singular vision, and luckily we're all nice and we get along. And but yeah, we were stuck together, and we had to get
No
along.
choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're stuck in New Zealand. I guess it's not the worst place to be
It
stuck,
was
right?
fantastic. I mean, the crew that was there and how that community welcomed us and welcomed the show was really priceless.
Yeah. Now, Rob, you play Elrond,
Yes.
and he's a pretty iconic character. He's probably the character that most people would be most familiar with, or one of them.
One of them, yeah.
So stepping into those shoes must have been a little intimidating. What did you do to prepare for this role?
Well, I do want to correct my earlier statement about him being an elf to this, which is that he's half elven.
Okay.
Which is
So
very important.
One person on Reddit is now sad. No, they're mad because they were just typing it. They're like, "Excuse me, I see you."
Yeah, but it was a total dream come true. You know, I love Elrond. I've always been really intrigued about him. And I really was interested to take a character that, is in such a different place in the Third Age, in the books that we know, and sort of trace it back and see where he came from. And, he's a very famous past, which was really exciting to explore.
Yeah, and you did a lot of Elvish research. Did you study Elvish? I mean, I'm sure you had to do some in the show, right?
Yes, and yes. I when you explore the language, it's just another way of understanding the professor, and his work. So it was all kind of part of that. But I started by just being like, right, I'll find the Elrond bits,
Of course, every actor's like, where do I do? What I do? What I do? Am I dead? Okay, great.
Right.
Let's go.
Right. But then once you delve into the first stage material, you realize that the texture to it and everything is connected to everything, and so most of that stuff is directly or indirectly related to Elrond. So it was it was fun to sort of play historian, a little bit.
You're kind of a nexus. Your character is kind of a thread throughout all the stories. So,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Owen,
Yes.
you're so much trouble. I don't know how your mom
I'm
raised
a
you.
good boy, and my mum is the best in the world.
I definitely want to have a drink with you later. Anyway, so I hardly recognize you now because of what you look like on screen. You play Prince Durin the Fourth, and
Correct.
you have a much different look. How was that process?
Yeah, I mean, it was a process.
Like how much of a process?
It was a 3-hour process each morning and a 45-minute process to de-rig, to take everything off. But yeah, it was an interesting, at times quite emotional, I'm not going to lie. You weren't expecting that as an answer.
Why?
Right?
What-
No, it's
what
just kind
emotion?
of just because of the of being sat down there for hours and getting to know the guys who do the prosthetics and kind of getting to know them and watching Durin. There were various stages of putting the prosthetics on.
Mm-hmm.
The nose was the first thing, and it instantly turned me into an old man with a massive smile. And then after that, the wig went on, which kind of, let's say hello to my mum again. I looked like my mum. and then the beard came on. There was various different. The beard is in about 16 pieces. So this came on, then that came on, that came on, that came on. And then
Wow.
Do you remember
Yeah.
when we were rehearsing that scene and you came in, but you were in like a state of half undress on the prosthetic?
Yes. Yes.
And it was only halfway through the rehearsal of this dramatic scene that we realised that you look like your mother.
I think yes, yeah, this is it. This is it. Yeah. I look beautiful.
You did look beautiful.
Thank you. But it wasn't until every piece, there's two, we call them the nose cones. There were two little bits that come just above the nostrils here, not mine, but Durin's. And the second they went on, it was like, there he is. There
Wow.
he is. And then I was ready to kind of put my clobber on and go on set.
Did someone have to feed you during that process? You had to be called before 3 hours before everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of beard I've eaten whilst eating my lunch, kind of, because it just gets caught in the food. And believe it or not, I ended up just having smoothies.
Oh.
And nuts. Remember the nuts?
Oh, that's a terrible diet.
Yeah, yeah.
Hilarious.
And what about
The lips had to come out like this.
Yeah.
And that was the only way I could eat them. And then I had to lick the salt off my fingers like this. It was a whole thing. I mean, I'm not going to waste your time here now.
No,
I
you
wanna hear-
talked
I
a
wanna
lot
hear-
about it. I want to know more, though. I want
How
more.
was it? How was it going to the bathroom? Mark?
Oh, yeah, I told Charlie this story last night. I'm not going to mind myself having a wee.
You're not? Okay.
But it did. There are various. Oh Christ! There are various zips and costumes that get in the way, and I had to listen for it to hit the water. Let's move on.
Wow.
Let's move on.
Now you know what it's like to be pregnant.
But also, I mean,
Amen.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Sophia,
Hi.
I cannot tell you what a thrill it was to see you up on the screen as the first female dwarf depicted from this world. I mean, how amazing is that?
It's a miracle, both personally and career-wise. You know, she is the first female dwarf that we have ever seen on screen. And so to be attached to Tolkien's works in presenting that revolutionary television moment is an honour to host. It is necessary for the world's for every single race and world that we live in, for females to be present. And so to uncover and discover and build her was an utter joy and an honour.
And she's a boss of Durin.
I
She's the
can't
boss.
wait to
She's
see
my
you guys'
boss.
relationship. I just want to say something personally, selfishly. For 6 years, I played World of Warcraft, and my secondary character was named Sugarlina. She was a dwarf, and she looked just like you. And I literally started crying when I saw you.
Oh my goodness.
So you have healed many a raid, Sophia, for me. So you also had a really interesting story about your audition. Could you share that with the audience? Because I think everyone needs to know this. You are so incredibly powerful, just as a person.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much.
Welcome.
And I really appreciate that. It's so great to be able to have so many faces now to extend the accessibility for people like me to see themselves staring back at them in such a huge franchise. But the story of the audition is that I auditioned for this role 2 days away from giving birth. So yeah, my daughter was very much engaged, and there were many a midwife on speed dial saying, "Please don't go into London." But there I was, and I remember J.A. Bayona having to kind of haul me out of my camera test chair, and they were so grateful for me to be there. I then got the role, was gifted this amazing role when my daughter was then born, and she was just 5 days old, and we travelled to New Zealand when she was 10 weeks old, and there was a load of images of Deesa's incredible costume, and you'll see kind of little panels and stitching to the side, which were all removable. So in between takes, in between scenes, I was able to feed my baby and then shoot straight back on.
My gosh.
You know, that's what this role is representing. There's far more than what we see on screen for me to be able to play her. And huge kudos for the team at Amazon for supporting a new mother in this way, so that I could do it all.
Oh, I'm getting chills.
Deesa.
I'm literally getting chills and tearing up because it's a hard time in your life.
We can do it too.
And we can do it. Yeah,
we can do
absolutely.
it too. And yeah.
Shivers. So Ben, your story's not going to be as good. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not.
It is.
You play High King Gil-galad, sorry.
Yes.
And in this trailer we just watched, your character says, "Today our days of peace begin."
Right.
It seems like maybe that's not. It's like, hey, I'm 2 days to retirement. You know, like, is
Right.
is there a threat
Where's
looming?
the story going to go?
Yeah, where is it?
But that's quintessential Tolkien, the inevitable resurrection of evil.
Yeah.
And Gil-galad in particular is aware of that. And if you go back to the books, the number of times he's ahead of the curve and kind of see darkness coming from around the corner. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, and your character is so haunted, and you know I'm not going to spoil anything for people who are not super nerds of the source material, but you know you have a very tormented, interesting arc, and how do you play that? And you know where it goes, but you got to play the moment. How do you kind of ground yourself in that?
Well, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and it is hard won. I mean, that part of what we loved as the elves was the research. Every little nugget, even if it's not specifically about your character, it's a war that he would have lived through. And when you factor in immortality, you have to ask the question, when you've seen everyone you know and love die over and over and over again, how do you muster the strength for hope? When you've lost love over and over again, how do you fall in love again? And they do, with Middle-earth.
Can you narrate every book for me to sleep to every single night? Because I could listen to you speak.
Good night.
I fall asleep when he speaks all the time.
Yeah.
Owain, go to your room. Owain,
tell us that
go back to your room.
Ben.
Now,
Also, when we're acting, he's just out.
it feels like a very serious set. Like no one's having any fun. at all.
Awful.
Yeah, awful.
No, we always have a good time.
So Charles, Celebrimbor is a really fascinating character from the lore because you're so important.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I mean, should I say it? I'm going to say it. He's very involved in making the rings.
No, don't say that.
Darn it. Fired.
Wait, and he's a lord.
Lord
so
Celebrimbor.
Yeah, Lord of
Sorry.
technically, he's the Lord of the Rings.
I'm not going to do any spoilers. Anyway, but you know, there's not a lot written about Lord Celebrimbor
No.
in the book. So how, I mean, as a nerd, you want to research, but there's not a lot there. How did you fill that out?
Well, that's the best bit about this character is that there's a blueprint. There's more than one. There's a couple of 2 or 3 sketches of what he might have been and when he might have been, who his parent, what his heritage was. There are different versions. So and yeah, he in the Council of Elrond in Lord of the Rings. That is when we first, people who don't know his name from elsewhere, is when we first hear him named.
Wow.
And the other time is with the Doors of Durin at Moria when Gandalf's trying to get in, and Celebrimbor is responsible for the sort of what's it called, marquetry kind of beautiful signs on the door. So those are his 2 major contributions to the Tolkien world of Tolkien. But he's because you have an opportunity to fill in the gaps and to make your own decisions, informed, of course, always by the world in which he's surrounded. But little footnotes, little notes made in the margin saying should have made him this. You know, Christopher Tolkien often referred to that about Celebrimbor particularly.
Yeah.
You know, my father probably would have, if he'd remembered that he'd said that before, he would have done this with the character. So there's room.
There's
room.
so much research. And were there experts on set for you to consult with, to ask questions?
There were, yeah. Griff.
And Rob.
And
Rob Aramea.
That's
very
right.
true.
I mean, yeah, I want to say you definitely are thorough. Did you come into this being a huge geek about Tolkien, and then maybe, or did it just create a passion for you?
A bit of both, really. I didn't know anything about the fair stage when I took the job, but I loved Lord of the Rings, and so when I got it was kind of like a really great excuse. I mean, what I said earlier was true. Like I just felt like it was like. If he were here, he would know more than anyone. You know what I mean? So, like, I just kind of took the stance that it would be most fruitful to learn as much as I could and to sort of just throw myself into it, you know? And I loved it because then it sort of sparked debates on set, you know?
Sounds like the best set. You're having arguments over Tolkien mythology.
Debates.
And we get paid for it.
Yeah.
We go to work as we do at work.
Yeah.
It was very
But the text is that dense that you do have the opportunity to interpret and reinterpret and reinvest, and every time you go back to the source material, you learn something new.
Yeah.
So that's incredibly. That's the gift that I keep getting from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And words mean something different. You know, if you're talking about oaths or curses or promises, you know, these words mean something different in this world, you know, because there's magic in this world, both, you know, and so things like that, rediscovering things and seeing how they fitted into our world was like a really interesting sort of thing to talk about, as we did, all of us together.
Yeah. Did any of you, I mean, not mythology aside, did any of you have any other skills that you had to train to do on set? Fighting, dwarving?
Calligraphy. We had calligraphy lessons to write Elvish, and I've always been very into it myself. And so I was very excited to do that. And as a kid, I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings. So age 9, 10, I was copying his Elvish script as a child.
Wow.
I wrote my own play of Lord of the Rings. I had I had the soundtrack album to the cartoon movie.
Can we do it?
I wanted
Do
to.
it. Who
Yeah.
would I be?
Let's do your
Oh
play.
my God, I found people who are interested in actually doing it.
It's taken this long.
I've got the script somewhere, but
You dig it up.
dig it out.
Absolutely.
But that speaks to as well to the guy who taught us calligraphy was this amazing guy called Dan.
Yeah, he's great.
And just going and spending time with him and seeing what he was working on in other worlds and things like that was like a great part of
It's amazing.
the process.
I had to learn how to walk in a long gown.
I mean, that definitely, we know that is acquired skill. Yeah.
You've got 50 actors just acting their hearts out, cranes,
Yeah.
wind machines, and you fall down the stairs as the king. You got to start.
Hopefully
over.
they got that for the gag reel.
Yeah.
I am so sorry. We cannot. I could speak to all of you for hours more.
Well,
you
we
are
can.
such fascinating, wonderful people.
We will.
Yeah. Okay. But thank you for being here. Thank you, audience, for watching. And I hope that you remembered the trailer. Oh, yeah. I'll show it to you again. But be sure to watch The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, September 2nd, only on Prime Video. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy.
Nous pensions que la bataille était désormais derrière nous.
Aujourd'hui, la paix se profile.
Nous pensions que nos joies jamais ne finiraient. Nous pensions que notre lumière jamais ne s'éteindrait.
Le ciel est étrange.
Galadriel, fille de Finarfin. Le moment tant redouté.
Le mal ne dort jamais. Il patiente.
Dans les profondeurs, la pénombre peut tous nous engloutir sous la montagne.
Notre ennemi a bien des noms.
Tu as entendu parler de lui? Tu connais le nom de Sauron?
terre du milieu n'est pas maîtrisée, il va se répandre et tous nous anéantir.
Trouve la lumière, et jamais l'ombre ne te trouvera.
Ensemble, nous pouvons gagner!
Combattez avec moi.
Chacun d'entre nous se doit de décider quel chemin il devra emprunter.
Il ne peut y avoir de confiance entre un marteau et une pierre. Un beau jour, l'un ou l'autre, en viendra à se briser.
On vous a conté tant de mensonges sur la terre du milieu.